Good evening. This is Harold Watson, Zoning Chair of the Stratford Zoning Commission, that now sits for its regular live monthly meeting on Wednesday, April 27th, 2022. The quorum for this meeting is 4. I will now call the following elected commissioners. Zone 1 Commissioner Jim Figliotti.
Here.
Zone 2 Commissioner Dion Francis.
Here.
Zone 3 Commissioner myself, Harold Watson. Here. Zone 4 Commissioner Deborah Lamberti.
Here.
Zone 5 Commissioner Len Patricelli.
Here.
Alternates who are in attendance include Rich Fredette. We also welcome Jay Habansky, our Planning and Zoning Administrator, Gail DeCilio, our Recording Secretary, and Patricia Sullivan, our Zoning Legal Counsel. The first portion tonight is our petitions.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to alter our agenda.
Yes, you may.
All right.
Let me, just before we start the public hearings, we are going to have to go in a different order tonight. One of our parties is late. That's Lordship. They will be last. That's 225 Lordship. They will be last. We have another Bruce. We have the Selby Pond, 638 Selby Pond is being deferred until the following meeting. And so then tonight, our first, we'll be hearing the petition of...
Well, let me adjust the entire agenda for the meeting, this way we don't have to keep doing it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I'm saying all of this, so you can just...
Well, you're saying I don't have to if you continue.
Well, you can just...
I'm just going to take petitions out of order. How's that?
That sounds perfect.
Make a motion to take the petitions out of order.
So our first tonight will be... Second.
Second.
Jim, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Okay, so tonight then, what we are doing is, we are going to go Bruce Avenue. Our second will be Two Roads Brewing, and our third will be 225 Lordship Boulevard. And that's our whole agenda for our public hearing section.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
With that said, I call to order this monthly session of the Stratford Zoning Commission at 7:05 p.m. We now will move to open our petitioners' hearing. Our first person we're hearing from tonight is Jim. Is that in front of you?
Sure. 115 Bruce Avenue, petition of Chanel Wilson seeking a site plan review and special case approval to establish a youth program, after-school program facility in an MA zone.
Good evening.
Hello.
So
Good
we read your letter. We've looked at, most everybody, I think, has now looked at the plans.
Okay.
So the floor is yours.
Okay. Good
Oh,
evening.
your name and address, sorry.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. As you know, I'm down. Okay. As you know, I'm Chanel Wilson. This is my son, Malcolm Wilson.
Hello, everybody.
So thank you for hearing us out tonight. As you said, you've seen our plans. You've seen our letter. We would like to open up a youth center in Stratford for the children. I currently have a daycare center in Bridgeport from ages infant to 5 years old. I have a lot of parents that are in need of childcare for their older children, and we don't have the space in the center that we currently have. So we found a space in Stratford, and we feel like it would be perfect for a youth center. We feel like there's a great need because the children nowadays, sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Don't be nervous. We're your neighbors.
Okay. Okay, so let me tell you a little about the program that we plan to have. We plan to open from Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. We will provide transportation as well for the kids who are in need. And we're going to make it a safe, fun, positive space for children to be able to learn health and fitness, nutrition. Malcolm, he's a nutrition certification, and he's also a physical fitness trainer, so he can help the children with activities and fun classes to do as well. We want to help them with their homework, try to get them off the screen all the time. These kids are always on the computer, on the game. Try to get them outdoors during the summertime, plan fun activities for them. Do you want to say anything?
Hello, everyone. My name is Malcolm again. And my mother is saying I'm a certified personal trainer and nutritionist. And I think a few of you may know me or maybe see me around through the community. We're trying to create more access to wellness and to have more programs for the children. And that's our mission. We really want to be able to help out more of the community. And if we run this program, you're also going to see us do more community events, for the children, and for the adults as well. And we're looking to continue making Stratford great. Does anyone have any questions? There's anything.
Shall I start with questions, guys, or is there someone?
Go ahead, you can start.
This might be a stupid question, but because I was confused as I was reading through this material. Are you guys leasing the building, or are you purchasing the building?
Leasing.
You're leasing?
Yes.
Okay. So you still, there still is an owner that's in this. My concern is, I'm sure you are aware, is that it's in the floodway.
It's in what?
It's in the floodway. So it's basically, you'll be subject to flooding every time we have any kind of massive rain event even. So that is one of the things that immediately concerned me. But if we're going to reuse a space that's in a flood, this sounds like a good use of that space. My question to you is, and that has nothing to do with our vote here, I'm just concerned with you investing in this building and making sure that it's a good investment for you. I see that it's a 3-story building, 2 stories with a lower story. Is your main gym area on the first floor?
First floor, correct.
So it's elevated 10, 11 feet?
It's elevated, yeah. So there's never been any flooding inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
is the interior of the building, is it sheetrock? I mean, is it cinder block with metal? So you don't have a mold problem in there also?
No.
No.
Those are the 2 things that I would be concerned about with lots of kids coming.
So, I'm sorry. So we've also had, we've had the building tested for lead. The health department
okay.
came. We've had it tested for lead as well. We've had the state come and just preview the building just before we even thought about this to make sure that they were okay with it as far as OEC is concerned. So we also got their okay. We have to go, once we have the okay from zoning, then we can proceed with the rest of the application. But we got the initial approval from them as well, and as well as the fire department.
And I think our zoning and planning administrator was pretty succinct with what he thought should be our concerns. And I think I agree very much that one of the things he suggested, because Bruce is not really amenable to walking traffic, that you not use the front entrance, but you use the back entrance.
Oh, yes.
Is that something that's okay with you?
Yes.
So
Yes.
if we were to say yes, you would essentially not be going, because I think keeping kids off Bruce makes better sense.
Yeah,
And
we never use the front entrance. We
You
always
saw
use
his list of items that were like a stop mark coming out of the driveway, like replanting the green grass in the front to discourage people from parking up on the sidewalk area. You're okay fulfilling those kind of requirements? I
Yes.
didn't think any of them were onerous. I thought they were all good business, particularly if you have kids around. Uh, That's all my questions. Dion?
Yeah, the only thing I was just thinking about is, if they're only leasing this, I mean, technically, the owner of the building would have to get permission to put grass there. So if they're leasing it, I don't know if they have the authority to do that. Do they?
Well, my assumption is you have a landlord who's happy to find a tenant. So if you go back to him and say, I'd like you to plant this grass strip, that's the requirement for us to move in. I would bet you that you'll get a favorable response.
And another question is, so I see there is a bottom level, even though I think the majority of the occupation is going to be on that first level, which is elevated. Now, is all your mechanicals in that lower level? That looks like it's sidewalk level? So is there mechanicals all in the basement of that area?
What do you mean by mechanicals?
Mechanicals like your boilers, your heating systems.
Oh, that's in the basement.
It is in the basement. And from your knowledge, you never known it to be flooded down there?
No, never.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just for your protection, I would just, talk to your landlord so you're not responsible, because I know it does flood over there at times.
Yeah, so it does, but it does not in the building though. So it never got inside the building.
Okay.
So that tunnel did. It seemed recently, I don't know if there's been changes in the past few years, but it hasn't been flooding as bad as it has from previous years from before.
All right, that's all I got.
Anybody else? Yes, Deborah?
Yeah, I work like on Georgia, I mean, on Brookfield, which is like 2 blocks away. And I see from the, the north side. And everybody got flooded like this year. When that bad storm hit.
Yeah.
I mean, McDonald's was filled, it's like that whole area, you got flooded.
Yeah.
Deborah?
Okay. As I said, I work, 2 blocks from there. And everybody got flooded just this past year. And it was, it was a mess.
Yeah.
Things were floating in the street. So are you sure that you're safe?
Yeah, so inside that building, there was no water, like, at all. The tunnel part did, people, that it did block the tunnel part, but as far as inside the building, there was no water.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because it's on a hill, so it doesn't really it doesn't really reach inside.
The use requires a special case in that zone.
Okay, that's all we're doing is doing special case. Anybody else? Mr. Vigliotti?
Hi, good evening. So I know there are some comments about, from the Health Department. You're right, that the State of Connecticut Office of Early Childhood licenses your program,
Yes,
and you're in the process of getting a license for this site.
yes,
And you've been in contact with the Health Department, and they're going to do the inspections and sign off on the building.
yes. We've already started with the lead testing. We've got the results.
And is there a number of children per square foot? Is there a
Yes.
so what's the maximum capacity that you could have in there?
I think he said it was 100. I think 40, 45?
The per square footage?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, altogether, I think he quoted us at 100, but it's like 35 square feet per child.
So do you anticipate having that many?
No.
And what if it takes, is there any, would there be any possibility of using another, like one of the upper levels? Do you have
yes,
access to the entire building?
We do. Currently, there is a tenant upstairs, but we did get lead testing and approval for upstairs. The fire marshal came upstairs as well, just in case that's vacant. But we would like to access upstairs as well. But right now, there is a tenant there occupying the space.
Is it just going to be, I'm just curious, is it going to be the two of you running the program, or other?
Yes, it's myself and my daughter. We have the daycare center in Bridgeport, and this is kind of going to be like an extension with the youth program. So Malcolm and we're really going to be running it totally, but my daughter also is part owner as well.
Okay, thank you.
Len? Anybody else? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We will be voting on it later.
Okay.
Will someone close the hearing? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Now we need to hear from the public. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak in favor of this petition? Please give us your name and your address.
My name is Kimberly Rice, and I'm at 181 Boston Avenue. And I would like to speak in favor. We do need daycare, and I think it would be wonderful to have it as an addition here in Stratford. Thank you.
Is there anybody here to speak against this proposal? Hearing none.
I make a motion that we close the public portion of 115 Bruce Avenue.
Thank you, guys. The best of luck. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the two roads. The next thing we'll be hearing is a text amendment for two roads. And we also will be having a site plan review for two roads. I think we can take those as one item. Good evening. Please give us your name and your address. Oh, I'm sorry. Go. You have to do both.
Oh, which one? The,
Both two roads, 6 and 7.
oh, you're on that one. All right. So we are presenting text amendment to the petition for Two Roads Brewing Company, LLC, seeking to create a new section 15.8 to allow a manufacturing of spirits and craft cafe permit in CA and MA zones. And also for 17 Stratford Avenue, petition of Two Roads Brewing Company, LLC, seeking a site plan review and special case to establish a manufacturer of spirits and craft cafe permit incidental to a brewery in the CA and MA zone.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Bradley Hittle, H-I-T-T-L-E. I'm the CEO of Two Roads Brewing Company. I'm one of the founding partners. And to my right is Richard Skowinski. He's our beverage alcohol attorney, also a Stratford resident. And so we're here to seek approval of a permit to have a distillery at Two Roads Brewing Company. And as part of that, we'd like to be able to pour alcoholic beverages in our tasting room, which is why it's adjoined with the cafe permit. I have a small presentation that I'd like to hand out to the. I only have 6 copies because I didn't realize, but this will kind of give you a little bit of background on why we're here. Is that okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5. Sorry. And I'll just go through the pages. I'll go through the pages with you happy to answer questions as we go along. So. On page, I'll wait for that to get passed out. On page 2 is sort of a little business update on Two Roads. We've been here since, open to the public since December 2012. We had the good fortune of growing to be the 44th largest brewery in the country out of 8,500, and it's been a wonderful ride thus far. If you include the contract production of our brewery, which we make beer for other people as well, we would be ranked the 21st largest in the country, even though we're largely from Maine down to Virginia. We're not anywhere west. We did go into Colorado, so we're not a full national brewery, but we've done quite well. In 2019, we had 145 employees at the brewery. If you go to the next page, we've had a lot of great success repurposing an old building, having it come to life again. The uniqueness of the setting has attracted a lot of people. We have 150,000 visitors in 2019 to the brewery. Those are not unique visitors because we have a lot of regulars who come here very often, but that's how many individuals set foot in the property. Lots of tours, and it had become a major tourist attraction. Next page is some of the activities we like to do on our brewery campus. I say campus because we also have a new brewery called Area 2 on one end and the old U.S. Baird building on the other. But we do a lot of events, a lot of concerts. A lot of people from out of state visit for all these events and concerts. The next page, we opened the Area 2 Innovation Center in 2019. That was on the last parcel of the Baird property that we picked up. And that was beginning to go gangbusters until the advent of COVID. If you go to the next page, this is the setting of the Area 2, which is where our distilling equipment would be. It's a beautiful, super high-end facility, totally different from the main building, which was our intention, to, again, draw people from all over the Northeast to experiment, learn about our experimental beverages. The next page is just the bummer of things right now is going into 2020, we ended up having a lot of headwinds. Competition, number one. This shows you the number of breweries in the United States. When we started in 2012, there was 2,670. Today, there's 9,247 as of 2021. In Connecticut, when we started, there were 21 breweries, and today there is 123. And my understanding is another 12 are planning to open in the state this year. So it is getting competitive. And then the next bullet point is a consumer shift from beer to new innovations. There is a typo here. I've had seltzer in here twice, but hard seltzers, which are, were the rave, they are growing rapidly. And then there's a thing called RTD canned cocktails, which are spirits-based canned cocktails are rapidly growing, as is non-alcoholic beer. So the point here is that there's a huge amount of innovation going on, and we have to follow suit in order to compete as a business, and the ready-to-drink cocktail component of that is something that we're eager to participate in. The next page is also what happened is the COVID shock. 40% of our sales to our distributors ended up being sold by the distributor to bars and restaurants. So in 2020, we lost 70% of 40% of our business. And that was a hard hit for us. We had to furlough some employees, but we brought them back as soon as we got a payroll protection plan. And our taproom sales are recovering, but they're still down 38% from where they were in 2019. So it's been, COVID has had a very serious effect on our business. We're down to about 125 employees. But in the next page, we have high hopes. Canned cocktails are a huge growing segment of the alcohol beverage segment, and these are blended with bulk vodka from a third-party supplier. We have a line called Daybreaker that uses 100% real fruit. These retail for typically about $14 a four-pack, and they're very expensive to make, but the consumer demand is there. And we'd like to certainly take advantage of that and be involved in that because, as I said, innovation is critical for our industry. Currently, we're talking to a very large local ready-to-drink brand that is prepared to bring 300,000 cases of business to us. This would involve blending spirits with lemonade in the case of this competitor, or not competitor, but contract customer. And that would be a game changer for us, an absolute game changer to bring in 300,000 cases, which is why this permit is so important to us. In addition, we have our own brand, Daybreaker, which we believe will do 25,000 cases. Nothing compared to the 300,000, but we feel like we're going to get a platform and grow that 25,000 more and more so that we can compete, we can hire more people, and be a successful business in Stratford. The next page. As far as actual bottled spirits are concerned, that is not a primary effort for us, but it is something that basically we're going to do super small batch, high-end distilled spirits like vodkas and gins and rums. These would be retailing for $40, $50 a bottle. This is going to be mostly to draw people to Area 2 where they can buy a bottle and leave with it. We're not intending to do a lot of sales to retailers or to brokers and distributors. This is really more of a marketing effort, but it is important for us to have the actual distillery. Which, there's a picture of it that you can see here. These are 2 small pot stills that would do that work for us. The next page, just, it's really important for us. This kind of goes through why we're here to talk to you. And one is we got a lot of money sunk into this equipment, and we'd have to write that off. We would lose a lot of margin if we could no longer sell our canned cocktails, and we would lose a significant amount of margin if we're unable to produce this for a contract customer. And our employee base, we'd like to grow it, and this would help us grow it. Otherwise, it would be a real hit on our bottom line, and we would have to make some adjustments. So I'm here to appeal for this, and I thank you for your consideration. And I have these certificates of mailing. Where do I?
Pass them around.
Okay. That's it, sir. Yeah.
This is not that complicated. I have one question for you, and it might be slightly off topic. When you start doing the, I'm going to call it hard work, it's not beer, or
Sure.
whatever else there is.
Yeah.
Is the process equivalent to when you're dealing with malts and yeasts and everything else, in terms of output, if there's any water output into our sewer delivery system? Will that have any impact at all?
No. No, because we're blending. There's very little going down the drain. It's all blended and packaged.
Perfect.
Yep.
So if that business expands, there's no danger
No.
at all to our future, which is
No.
perfect. Glad the opportunity's come along. I don't have a whole lot of questions. Anybody?
The only question I really have is just a portion in here about the sprinkler system. Is there a plan to make sure that sprinkler system is upgraded enough where you can pass, inspections or for it to be able to take care of whatever fires or whatever happens in that building?
We've been inspected, and I have a letter from the fire department saying it's in good standing condition, and there's nothing we need to do at this point.
Oh, okay, that's all. That's all the question I have. I don't really have too many.
I just have a quick question. I learned a long time ago in economics class that most of the cost of alcohol is the bottling, the taxes and all that. Does that apply to you?
Oh, yeah. There's several layers of that. There's a federal excise tax.
Right.
And in the case of spirits, anything you make over 7% is taxed at, I think, $13.50 a proof gallon, and anything below 7% is $5.40. So there's a big taxation there. And then you have, of course, state excise taxes and retail normal sales taxes. So it's very taxed. It's highly regulated, and for good reason in most cases, and some not so good. But let's save that for another conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, packaging materials are it's almost 50-50 in this case.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
And this is Commissioner Francis again. Just to piggyback on, on what she said was, I'm referring to actually you saying that, you're gonna start distilling some spirits like gin and vodka for basically a marketing thing. So basically, they'll just only be able to buy those types of beverages at the distillery.
Correct.
So it's just to kind of draw people there,
Yes.
especially out of state, saying, "Oh, well, I went to the
Yes.
distillery and I got a bottle."
Yeah.
And okay,
Our maximum capacity, if we really maxed out, and distilling takes forever, because you have to, I'm not an expert on this, but you have to, you do cuts, and then you recut it, and you redistill it, and basically you're redistilling it until you're refining it. It takes forever, and the yield of our system could possibly produce, depending on what it is, 1,500 to 2,000 bottles maximum, which isn't very much.
per month, per year,
Annually.
annually.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's not a lot.
Okay. Thanks.
But it's a great thing for our consumers to come in and go, oh, I'd love to try this Two Roads gin, come and experience the tap room, try our other innovative products that we're doing there, and just have a really good experience at Area 2 and at the brewery, the main brewery. So that's the idea there, is to get people to come in.
Okay. Thank you.
Final question from me. This mentions the craft cafe. Is that reflective of the fact that Connecticut finally changed its laws in terms of having eateries and alcohol?
For our
breweries?
purposes, it was to have the ability to, before the cafe permit, we could produce a canned distilled canned cocktail, but we couldn't open it and pour it
On
our premises.
On your premises.
So this enables us to do that.
Great. Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
That was my only question. So everything that this new permit is going to allow you to do that? So there's no, I don't know, tap of Daybreaker, right? In other words, everything that you're going to sell from your new distilling manufacturer is going to be a canned product.
Yeah, we wouldn't have draft versions of it. It would all be packaged. We would open it for people, pour it into a glass with ice, and let them enjoy it there. Yeah, and we could also let people sample our gins and vodkas, so they might want to take a bottle, buy a bottle, and go home. But that's it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Is there anybody here to speak in favor of this? Is there anybody here to speak against this?
Move that we close the public portion of items 6 and 7.
Will someone please second that?
I didn't finish yet, of Two Roads Brewing Company.
Sorry.
Now I'm done.
Mr. Francis seconds that.
You gotta read, you have to read both of them.
He did.
I'm sorry, okay. Pardon me. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed? 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen. I betcha it is. That's him. Our third petitioner tonight, you're from 225? Yes. Welcome. Jim, do you want to read these?
Agenda item number 3, 225 Lordship Boulevard, we have a text amendment. Petition of 225 Lordship Boulevard LLC seeking to amend the zoning regulations by creating a new statute titled Lordship Boulevard Housing Zone. Number 2, petition of 225 Lordship Boulevard LLC seeking a site plan review and change of zone from CA to proposed LBHZ. And number 3, 225 Lordship Boulevard, petition of 225 Lordship Boulevard LLC seeking a site plan review under the proposed statute 31-3 of the zoning regulations to construct a 4-story, 100-unit affordable housing development pursuant to 830G of the Connecticut General Statute on a property with an existing 69-unit apartment building and an existing 120,000 square foot self-storage facility located in a CA zone.
Good evening. Can you give us your name and
Yes, Chair, Commissioners, good to be with you here tonight. Chris Russo with Russo and Rizzio LLC, offices at 10 Sasko Hill Road in Fairfield. On behalf of the applicant, thank you for accommodating and delaying our items to later in the agenda. I appreciate that. My understanding is that this was held open solely for the purpose of receiving comments from DEEP. Attorney Rizzio was here last time before you and concluded his presentation on the project. I won't step on his toes. He pays my salary. So we continued to wait for those comments. Mr. Urbanski today received an email that was, I don't know how you would define it, but it was somewhat of a comment on the application from DEEP, and I don't know if he wants to go into that. I know there was mention of whether or not we would comply with the MS4 permit, which we will. Not only that, it's a standard condition of your approval, so we really don't have any say in it beyond that anyway. So, I don't know, Jay. If
Sure, I'll be happy to speak to that. Jay Bansky, Planning and Zoning Administrator. So we received an email, it was either late last night or early this morning, that was more questions about, is it in a flood zone? Did it comply with FEMA NFIP standards? And they had misplaced the erosion and sediment control plans, so asked me to resend them. So I'm not sure I would consider them comment. Maybe they're comments. They were maybe more questions to me or half to the applicant. Either way, I think the applicant has fulfilled their duty and at least waiting last month, because it was referred to them under the statutory time limit that is required for their review, and you all continued to this month to give them almost double what they would really require. And to this point, we haven't seen any comments. So what I want to make clear is that the commission is within their right to move forward with this application and close it. We don't always receive comments from DEEP, and I'll just leave it at that.
And just to answer those questions, yes, we are in the flood zone, and yes, we are. The building is design FEMA compliant, and then the other issue was the MS4, and yes, we are going to be in compliance with that as well. I think that's absolutely.
I know. I just have a question. It says that it's a 100-unit affordable housing development?
Correct. It's a 100-unit development under the 830G section, which means there will be a requirement that 30% of the units be designated affordable. So 30 units will be affordable in this project.
Okay.
70 would be market rate.
Commissioner Francis, just to remind me, I can't remember, but did you agree to one of the suggestions that the parking lot be in the back of the complex? I know that was one of the suggestions.
I'm not sure what Attorney Rizzio agreed to at the last hearing, so I would have to defer to what he had said at that. There is some parking that's in the front of the building, and I don't believe. Yeah. Thank you.
Stop here, Jay, could you make comments as to, we had a whole list of items that we had gone through. We had a whole list of items that we had gone through. They were mainly compiled from your staff reports. What I would be looking for here is an assurance that have they met the majority of those? Are there any outstanding points that we still need to discuss and bring up here?
Well, that's a question for the applicant to answer, not myself. Whether or not they agree to my recommendations, that's for them to answer. What I can answer, the question from Commissioner Francis as to whether or not we're entertaining the idea of moving the building to front more on Lordship Boulevard with the parking behind. Attorney Rizzio last month, because I don't believe Attorney Russo, I don't think you were here last month.
I was not, no.
You were away. So I believe Attorney Rizzio stated that the applicant, and I don't want to put words in their mouth in his mouth, but that the applicant wasn't very interested in doing that, if I can summarize.
It also would reduce our, I do know, because we have had discussions about this, that it would reduce our parking numbers. And at the parking level that we have here, this is a number that we feel comfortable to support the number of units that we're going to have on site.
Okay, so yeah, the only reason I addressed that is because it was a great point, because, I mean, it's not particularly beautiful just to see a big parking lot as you're driving into Stratford. I mean, the design and architecture, I mean, it's top of the line, and it looks really high end. I was just concerned about that, and I didn't remember if you guys agreed to. I remember it was not. You didn't agree to moving the whole complex closer to the strip, but I wasn't too clear on would you allow the parking to be in the back so it wouldn't be such an eyesore. And I know there was some stipulations with some of the trees and some of the site plan of what's going to be designed around that parking lot. I do remember that.
Yeah, well, and we do have, and I think I have the landscape here, because again, the problem with doing that is the reduction in parking spaces it would cause for us. But one of the things we did, and here's our landscaping plan, but you can see along that front, in just trying to add a number of street trees, a lot of plantings, and certainly we take any suggestions with regards to that, but, to really kind of break up that parking area in the front visually. There's also, you could see some tree islands in here as well to break it up in between the parking spaces, and trying to address that and kind of beautifying the front with some landscaping, because we just felt locating the building in front impaired the parking space numbers.
Okay, and then
The
just
building in front.
just refresh my memory. How far is the setback from the street to the actual cement parking lot?
From the street to the parking lot,
Yeah.
I know it's 50 feet to the building. The buffer in between, I'd say it's somewhere between 5 to 10 feet. The space is 18. Yeah, I would say it's somewhere between 5 to 10 feet from our property line. From the curb, from the sidewalk it'd be even more, because our property line's a little bit in.
Yes.
How many parking places would you lose if you lost the front?
Dozens. I don't have the exact number, but it would be dozens. It would eliminate, because it eliminates this whole, if you look here on the site plan, it eliminates this whole drive aisle here, and, we have spaces here underneath the building, and then obviously, this whole long row here. So, reconfigured, my understanding is that we would lose dozens of spaces.
All right, so how many would you have left? Let me go in a different direction. Approximately, how many would you have left if you eliminated the ones in the front?
Just the ones in the front?
Mm-hmm.
Front row has 178 minus 153 is 25. 25 are in this row right here.
So you lose 25 in the front.
Yeah, and I believe it would also impact some of these spaces as well, because you wouldn't have a proper turnaround here. So I think it also might impact some of these that are underneath. This is my understanding from the architect and the engineer.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I may be able to help guide some of the comments from my staff comments from the notes that I have from our last few meetings to see what the applicant has been willing to agree to, if the commission wishes.
Please.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Okay, so Regarding the text amendment, the commission wanted the applicant to select a qualified independent firm to act as the affordability manager. This is what we do. This is a condition we do for every affordable housing project. I believe Attorney Rizzio agreed to that, but I will let their representative confirm.
Yeah, I will defer to Attorney Rizzio, but yes, I think that if it's another, it's.
We can also make that a part of our approval also.
Correct, condition. And
You
it sounds
can
like it's
make
a
this-
standard condition.
Right.
Commissioner Petroselli, you're absolutely right. They don't have to agree to this. You can set these conditions, but this is what I believe was mutually agreed upon. If you don't want me to go through these and you just want to discuss them during the administrative session, I can hold off. You want to? So the applicant.
I would love to try to
All
get
right.
clarity, because
There aren't that many. There aren't that many.
Well, then go
There's
ahead.
maybe 7 or 8.
keep going.
So that was the first one. The second one, for signage on the site, that the proposed text in section 31.5C shall be changed to wayfinding and site identification signs only. This is to prevent a gigantic billboard showing up on the roof at some point. I believe the applicant agreed to that.
Yes.
Number 6, on the text amendment, the applicant should provide additional section 31.10.3 titled bicycle parking, and shall provide 1 bicycle parking and storage space for every 3 residential units. I believe Attorney Rizzio agreed to that, but I
He did,
can't be
because he
certain.
brought the architect, and the
Yes.
architect actually showed us
Okay.
where.
Where
we
the
would put
parking
that.
is, yeah, for the bikes, yeah.
So that I'm pretty clear on.
Mr. Chairman, I would just feel a lot better if we included all of that in whoever makes the motion.
And I'd be happy to read these again, if that makes it easier. And we would make those as conditions during the voting session. I think this is more just informational, because here we are 3 months later. So the applicant, we know they agreed that the project will comply with the town's MS4 stormwater permit. I don't think we need to go over that one anymore. Number 7 in my staff comments, regarding section 31.11.4, the commission should eliminate the word typical when referencing elevations. And we expect the elevations they're presenting tonight, that's what we expect the building to look like. So when they file for a building permit, if it doesn't look like that, we're not issuing the building permit. So when we get rid of that word typical, I mean, and we're flexible. I mean, they changed the grills on the second floor windows. We're not going to send them back for a public hearing. It's just the significant changes. It has to look like that cover page.
But may I add, it clearly states, that we are, although the proposed amendment is somewhat inconsistent with certain objectives, policies, and actions in the POCD, the amendment has the potential to be substantially consistent. So it's only those items that we have questions about. Those are what we will append to a letter that can be forwarded to you, I would believe, right? That would be enough.
Correct. We would put these as a condition. If the board chooses, these would be included as conditions of approval.
So start thinking.
So, no concerns with the zone change, assuming that these modifications are made to the text amendment. Assuming that these are made, the zone change is consistent with the POCD. So lastly, we have the site plan review, just kind of looking at the development as it stands. You know, there
was one thing, though, that the self-storage unit was not included in their text on change of the zoning. It only listed the apartment building as a use, and it would have created a situation where you would have had a non-conforming building if you do not include it in that text.
Right, and I think there are, in other regulations that you have, similar regulations, there is a provision that says that any use that is pre-existing on the site would be permitted, and that was language that I think we basically could just copy onto, or add into that amendment. So, because the self-storage is already there.
But doesn't that put you in a grandfathered situation versus if you put it into the zone change, then you have a up-to-date
into the text,
legit.
into the text amendment.
My comment was really for the applicant's benefit, for refinancing or anything. If you have a non-conforming use, that could pose a challenge for the property owners. So that was why I suggested it be added to the permitted use. So
And no
it's
issue
something
with
that
that.
we can add as a condition of approval.
Okay.
That use be added
Well-
at that stage, but I'm glad you brought it up. So getting back to just the site plan, the Architectural Review Board, as well as myself, recommended that the building be pushed up to the front of the street, up to front on Lordship Boulevard with no parking between the building and the street. And, the commission will have to determine how far they want to push that. If it requires reducing the density, that'll have to be a conversation to be had. But keep in mind, this is an 8-30G where the commission does have less latitude in requiring certain things like this. So we'll just move forward from there. I think we heard the applicant's statement on that. Item number 3 in the site plan review, the landscaping plan should be approved by the tree warden prior to the issuance of a building permit. I believe Attorney Rizzio had no concern with that.
No issue with that.
The zoning commission should require the applicant install bicycle storage to accommodate for 30% of the total building occupants. I think the Attorney Rizzio has agreed to that.
Yes.
The commission may choose to inquire if the applicant has considered charging stations for electric vehicles. That should be, I feel like that's something that there should be available on the site. I don't see that on the site plan, but something for the commission to consider, and the applicant doesn't have to agree to that or comment on it unless they feel like they want to. I'll move on while you're thinking. And lastly, the project has to comply with the town's MS4 permit, and the applicant has confirmed that, so. Those were the major topics of discussion that I heard from you all at the last meeting, which I can detail again as we get into our decision session.
May I ask a question of you, Jay? The number 7 was, going back to a bugaboo, FEMA and DEEP. Is the assumption we are not going to hear from them? Or are we ready to move without hearing from them? I guess that's what I should say.
I mean, like Jay stated before, we've surpassed their time to respond, actually doubled of what their time
Yeah,
is.
I just want to put that, because that's important for you.
I just
And-
believe that if there was something that was a big of impact, they would have definitely responded by now.
And Chair, we've been, this site, we have been here a number of times before, and Deep's commented on each of those, and we've met their comments, and generally, I think those comments have been along these same lines, and so we'd again, we don't really have a choice in the matter on MS4. We're planning on it anyway, but it's your standard condition of approval, and we meet that. And plus, as far as impact on coastal resources, I mean, we're on the opposite side of the Sprague terminals. We're pretty far there, so I really don't feel like we will have an impact.
And I'll just add, I mean, we advertise whatever decision is made next week in the paper. If Deep wakes up and reads the paper and decides that they want to appeal the application, they can. Because if they feel that there's something that is inconsistent with the Coastal Area Management Act, that's what that mechanism is there for. And I don't want to make it sound like, I mean, we work collaboratively with Deep. However, they also monitor and give comments for many municipalities and many coastal site plan review referrals. So we don't always hear back.
Well, and also I think your erosion and sediment control standards yourself, I mean, the town has its own, so, and I think generally those mirror what something that Deep would ask, and and we certainly feel we comply with that, and will comply with it.
Anybody else with any questions?
Move to close the public portion on 1, 2, and 3 Lordship Boulevard.
The what?
Public.
Oh, sorry,
Oh, you didn't do that yet?
public comment. No, I didn't.
Oh.
So the crowd here is
It's
yelling.
kind of hard to remember that looking out there.
Is there anybody here who would like to speak in support of this petition? I know I'm supposed to repeat that 3 times. I don't want to do it. You're staring at me. Is there anybody who wants to speak against the petition?
Okay.
Hearing none?
Close the public portion of 1, 2, and 3, Lordship Boulevard, the text amendment in 1, 2, and 3, which is now 4, 5, and 6.
I'd
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it, and appreciate you accommodating us later in the
And
agenda.
we will get to you during the administrative. I believe that closes our public hearing today. We need a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, seeing no more applications before us, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Anybody second that?
Second.
Mr. Petrocelli, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are now going to move on into our administrative session. I hope I have the right piece of paper here. The what? Yeah, I'm just trying to.
So right behind, because I thought the packet was a little confusing in this one. Right behind the public hearing agenda, work agenda, stapled right.
Oh,
In case you're having trouble finding it.
okay, that I am having trouble finding.
It was all jumbled, there was paper clips and all kinds of things, so
Except I have my copy and not his copy. I need to find your copy that you gave me. Because mine doesn't do double sign. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But we're gonna do minutes first though, correct? Or we're gonna just do we're just gonna do the three, okay. All right. We are now going to discuss the application, the petition that we received tonight, 115 Bruce Avenue. Someone like to start out? Do we need to, we need to take this off the table.
Motion, Commissioner Francis likes the motion to take it off the table, the 115 Bruce Avenue petition. I gotta read the whole thing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Okay, discussion.
Well, this is Commissioner Francis. I mean, I definitely think this is a positive petition before us. I just think that they do need to address, like you said before, the landlord, just to make that that sidewalk, you know, with the planting strip, you know, along in front of 111, 115 Bruce Avenue. I definitely think that Stratford needs something like this for the kids. We don't have too many options besides sports. There's not too many after-school specials anymore. I said after-school specials. After-school programs. I just dated my age, right?
You still look.
You're right. So, and I mean, I know some of the petitioners, and they worked well in the community. You know, I am the athletic director of Pop Warner, so he's worked with Pop Warner and the kids before. So I know he's definitely a positive addition to the community of Stratford. And I don't think there's any negative comments on my front. So I would definitely vote in favor of this project.
I'll second a motion to approve with everything that Dion said without repeating it.
The only thing I would like to ask is that there be some thought given as to, there was mention about kids being bussed over, transported. And I just want to make sure that some accommodation, some thinking takes place of how they're going to get a bus to turn into that parking lot and then get it out again. It seems like there's room to do it, but it might require restriping of some kind. Or a good driver. Or a good driver, that's true.
Well, I think we could put into an amendment some of the requests, right?
So I would love to see that as
Jim?
an amendment, that not to be required, but that we suggest that they look into that as a possible, as a accommodating bus turnaround.
Maneuverability. Was that what you were going to talk about, Jim?
Since we've already told them we want them to use the back door, not the front door.
Okay, just a few things. The condition of approval to use the back door, the rear entrance only, although agreed to by the applicant, was not stated as, I didn't hear that, as stated as part of the conditions of approval here yet. Maybe I missed that. And those are in my staff comments on the bottom of the first page. I recommended those 3 items, which I heard everyone agreed to, and then there was some additional,
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
as a condition of approval of this petition, I recommend that drop-off and pickup of students shall be limited to the rear parking lot only, that a stop bar shall be painted on the driveway's intersection of the Bruce Avenue between 111 Bruce and 115 Bruce Avenue to improve pedestrian and motor vehicle safety. And number 3, to prevent the parking of motor vehicles that block the sidewalk. The planting strip along the entire front of 111, 115 Bruce Avenue shall be restored back to grass. And I guess number 4, that should the applicant provide transportation, that there be enough space in the back of the building to allow that transportation to safely turn around.
Mr. Chairman, there's an amendment on the floor, so that would have to be offered as a friendly amendment, because there's a motion on the floor already.
Can that be offered as a friendly amendment?
I would like to make that offer as a friendly amendment.
You accept that?
Accept.
I'll accept it as a second.
All right. So, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Your petition has been approved.
Thank you and good luck. Our next, Deborah. Good night, everybody. Do you want to take the next petition? It's 3 items, I believe. Sorry, 2 items. Well, they left, so we can say anything we want.
Two Roads Brewing Company, LLC, to create a new Section 15.8R to allow a manufacturer of spirits and craft cafe permit in CA and MA zones.
And then the next one also.
And 1700 Stratford Avenue, Two Roads Brewing Company, LLC, site plan review and special case to establish a manufacturer of spirits and craft cafe permit incidental to a brewery in a CA and MA zone.
Discussion?
I'll move to approve it, and then you can discuss it.
Motion to take it off the table.
Sorry.
Second.
Motion to approve it.
No, second, you got to discuss.
You gotta discuss. You're going too fast, guys. You're confusing me.
Let's start all over again.
Second the motion to approve, and then we discuss?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now we're back in business.
So now we may discuss.
I don't really think there's much to discuss. I mean, they're fantastic business in town.
I mean, just to give them detail.
Right, what they're doing is just good for the town, good for them. So I really can't find anything negative to say about it.
And they made it through COVID, so.
Yeah, I believe they are. This is Commissioner Prince. I also believe that they've made a great impact on the town, and I've been there many a times. Enjoyed myself many a times, and I think they bring more revenue from out of town for people visiting this brewery. They've always been good standings. I've never heard of any problems over there at the Two Roads facility. And I think this will be a great addition to the town of Stratford as well as to the Two Roads Brewing Company. So I would actually second to approve.
Well,
All right.
Deborah,
Oh, okay.
Deborah. Jay,
I wanted to add just a few things for your consideration as you're discussing. One of the most important things when you all are looking at a text amendment, you have to determine whether or not the text amendment is consistent with the plan of conservation and development, so that needs to be stated for the record, and that's detailed in my staff comments. As I mentioned in my staff comments, the Planning Commission gave this a favorable recommendation. We had staff comments that were provided by the Regional Planning Agency, who determined this is not a regionally significant text amendment, therefore they have no concern. We had a letter of support, and this is all in your packet, so I'm not introducing anything new. From letter of support from the Economic Development Director here for the town of Stratford. No concern from DEEP. We had no concerns from the Building Department, Fire Marshal, Police Department. Actually, someone brought it up during the meeting that there was a question about sprinklering, and that was from the Building Department, and that determination gets made during the building permit process. And so I've been in close communication with the building official that they might require, and they're not even sure yet, they might require a building permit to accommodate for the sprinkler system. So we'll let them determine that outside, I think, of this arena. So is the text amendment consistent with the POCD is, I think, one of the more important findings.
Read that consistency into. Or whoever's
Right,
making the motion.
right. So the planning commission will give a favorable recommendation because it is consistent with the POCD as well as the building permit, fire department, also the police department. It's also consistent to ensure the compatibility and zoning of the land use and zoning. Therefore, I don't see any reason to deny this petition. Was that good?
All in favor?
Aye.
Debbie, you want
Aye.
to, stop. Debbie, you have something to say before we go further? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Let me have my piece of paper back. Thank you. Okay, now we are moving on to approval of the minutes,
There's another little error that they or I didn't catch.
which Deborah's going to approve.
Excuse me. So that was the vote for the text amendment, and now we need to vote on the approval of liquor location. We heard them together, but now they need to be voted on separately.
We still have to vote on lordship. So, we're not going out, we're not getting out of here in 10 minutes.
My Little League meeting will wait.
It's getting dark, though, I'm worried.
No, it's in someone's basement, so don't worry.
All right, I make a motion that we allow Two Roads to a special case to establish a manufacturer of spirits and a craft cafe permit incidental to a brewery in the CA and MA zone.
Second.
Do we need to add POCD comments?
I think it's always a good idea, and you prove anything, it should be consistent with the plan of conservation and development.
Can you just state that copy the previous vote?
And I think you could keep it as simple as the proposed application is consistent with the plan of conservation and development.
The proposed application is consistent with plan and conservation for the town of Stratford.
You're here, okay. Do we need to vote on this? Yes. Correct? Second it?
No, the second, I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Okay, now we're going to
Oh, Jesus.
Lordship Boulevard, correct?
Yes, similarly, although we heard them together, these items should all be voted on separately. And, you know, I'm happy to read out some of those initial comments once there's maybe a motion, and you just point to me and when you want me to start reading them off.
And take the first one off the table. We can take them all off the table at one time, right?
I think for voting purposes, we should take them one at a time,
Okay, one
because
at
it
a
can get
time.
confusing.
First one.
All right, I'll take the text amendment off the table for purposes of discussion from Lordship Boulevard.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Five
Aye.
0. Okay. So if you go to tonight, March 15th document, second page, text amendment.
Should I just use those, Joe? Joe, the text amendments
Can
on
she-
the second page?
Do we need
I think we need to, we need the commission to articulate why they feel this application is either consistent or inconsistent with the plan of conservation and development. Remember, it's a text amendment. And you may, I would recommend using my staff comments, there's 1 through 7, to kind of guide your discussion.
1 through 7?
Exactly.
Okay.
So you,
So can we just read that into the record?
sure, I think that you have to make a motion first, though.
Okay. I need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve 225 Lordship Boulevard LLC to amend the zoning regulations and create a new section title 31 titled Lordship Boulevard Housing Zone.
And? Well, no, but if you're gonna make a motion with all of that.
So those would be conditions for you all to consider.
Make a motion to approve with the following conditions. The town expects a qualified independent firm to be selected for a person to be responsible for administration and compliance with the project. That the text amendment include the pre-existing self-storage use, and be sure that all residential dwelling units are studio, 1-bedroom, and 2-bedroom. This is from March 15th, text amendment, conditions 1 through 7.
Yeah, yours done. Let me see if I can find it.
He didn't give it to us tonight.
Yeah, I can get you a copy for drafting. Do you need them tonight?
No.
I can give you my copy when we leave.
Oh, okay.
I'll just-
Well, I have this one. What do you have? Do you have the same as I do?
I thought so.
What do you have? You have the same as I do. It's not gonna give you,
Yeah, this is the same.
right, but
He's paraphrasing.
no, he's not paraphrasing because does yours say regarding section 31.1, the text indicates the proposed housing is energy efficient and
Yeah, number one.
starting with number 1? Yeah, okay. All right.
And they don't have, the commission does not have, they may say Jay's wrong on some of these. And you don't have to agree on them all.
Or we could say they've already met that condition, if we do believe they have.
Okay, that's number 2, the qualified. All right, I have it, Jim, I'm sorry.
So from the commission, and I don't want to derail Commissioner Vigliotti, on page 2 of my staff comments, the applicant has agreed to items number 2, number 3, number 5, number 6, and number 7, and I recommend those be included as conditions of approval. I think that'll make it easier.
Only those. Okay, so, James, can you go back and read 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7? If someone has an objection with those, just write the number down, we'll go back and rediscuss it and decide whether we want to include it or not.
Is that going to change his motion, because I should withdraw it and redo it?
Yeah,
And I left one out. So when you come through, 5 summarizes the legal use of the self-storage to be included. So it would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Okay?
Not just for safety reasons, withdraw your motion. Sorry.
I want to withdraw and start again.
Well, if you're changing anything.
withdraw and start again. And then just read down.
I'd like to withdraw my previous motion and start again. Make a motion to approve the text amendment with the following conditions. Regarding 31.3.2A, the applicant has identified itself as responsible for administration and compliance with the project. It should be clear that the town expects a qualified independent firm be selected at the applicant owner's expense to verify all affordable units and potential tenants qualify for residence. List of qualified affordability managers, which has been provided by the Connecticut Department of Housing, can be obtained in the Stratford Office of Planning and Zoning. Second, regarding 31.5C, the proposed texted should be changed to wayfinding and site identification signs only. Next, regarding 31.5, the applicant has listed the permitted uses allowed in an LBHZ, residential dwelling units, garage and accessory structures, parking and signs. For the zone change application, the zone is proposed to be changed for the entire property and all uses therein. The applicant should revise the proposed text and include the pre-existing self-storage use and be sure that all residential dwellings are studio, 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom, no 3 bedroom. Next, regarding 31.8.1, the text indicates that the project will be compliant with all town ordinances and regulations regarding stormwater. The proposed text should be added to the end of 31.8.1. All development will comply with the town of Stratford's MS4 stormwater management plan.
Discussion.
Next.
Oh, you're not done yet.
Regarding 31.10, the applicant shall provide an additional section as follows. 31.10.3, bicycle parking shall be provided at 1 bicycle parking storage space for every 3 residential units proposed. Finally, regarding 31.11.4, a commission should eliminate the word typical when referencing elevations as they are to be constructed as approved.
Second.
All in favor? The reason being,
The reason being because it seems to be all consistent with the POCD requirements, and there's no.
and you could add Stratford Housing Partnership.
In Stratford Housing Partnership has concluded that it is also in compliance with the 30% of the units being affordable.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. So now
What did we just do?
we have to go to the
He
next.
made a motion, it was seconded, and then Dion offered an amendment, I believe.
Oh, did you, Dion?
Well, that's
Wait.
part of the, isn't that part of the motion?
Yeah, that's part of the motion.
No, so the motion,
Part of the original motion,
We
okay.
have to include reference to the POCD
Right.
in our motion besides those specific things.
Okay.
Correct?
you have conditions, which are conditions on the approval, and then you have reasons for that approval. So basically,
when you're adding those changes and saying we're gonna have the bicycle parking, we're gonna do, those are all gonna be included in the amendment. So they can be a condition that actually changes the wording, or they can be a condition that they have to comply with. They've got to get their certified guy. Then the reason is the reason for the approval. So basically, when you're making a decision to approve, it should be consistent with the POCD, and in this case, with the housing partnership. So those are, both you have your approval that has your list of things that you insist that they do, and then the reasons why you're making that decision. So that's the way I would look at it. Commissioner Vigliotti made the motion with the conditions, the changes that need to be made to the amendment, and Commissioner Francis gave us the reasons for making that approval decision.
And honestly, that's where we forget. We should always have that second reference to the POCD. Will someone take the next one?
I like the motion is to take off the table the petition for 225 Lordship Boulevard LLC seeking a site plan review and change of zones from CA to the proposed LBHC.
But just before the conversation gets going, similar to a text amendment for a zone change, you all have to make the determination, if you're going to approve it, that it's consistent with the plan of conservation and development.
Second.
Second with the reason.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I just motion to take it off the table.
Oh. We voted on it, correct?
Deanne just made a motion to
take it off the
table.
Sorry.
Randy seconded the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Discussion. Let me just make a suggestion. The points we made here could be the same points, but there also is in the staff report specific reference to this. If you have a copy of that?
I got it open. Yep. Page 4, yes, I'm on it now. So, so do we want to still add in that, right, we don't want 1 because basically they didn't agree to 1 or 7, which is okay, the FEMA, because the comments from Deep Brighton. Actually, like Jay said, that Deep, if there is an issue, they would have, they can interject. So the 1 and 7.
Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
so now you've made an amendment to your regulations that allows that zone, and now they're asking for that piece of property to be put in that zone so that they can move forward with the project. So the amendment exists now, that you've approved that. So I don't think you need to include.
We don't need to include any of those, okay, but we can make a statement of the fact that this is in compliance very much with the POCD, the vision for Stratford, and specifically for affordable housing as it is mentioned in the Stratford Housing Partnership. Sound right?
Sure, and you can also say that, you amended the regulation in order to make it appropriate for.
That's right. Now it's consistent with the plan of conservation based on your conditions, and now it's been created, so now the zone change essentially should be consistent with the POCD as well. Just trying to explain.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve due to the fact that the conditions of the text amendment which were approved will now make the property compliant with the plan of conservation and development and the ambitions of the Stratford Housing Partnership.
That's enough? Good, great. Discussion? I'm sorry.
Second.
Second. Are we voting? Are we discussing? I'm good. Are we voting?
Any discussion?
Then, we ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, 5-0. Okay, will someone now take the third?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to take off the table 225 Lordship Boulevard LLC site plan review under proposed Section 31(3) of the zoning regulations to construct a 4-story, 100-unit affordable housing development pursuant to 830G of the Connecticut General Statute on a property with an existing 69-unit apartment building and an existing 120,000 square foot self-storage facility located in a CA zone.
Second.
Discussion.
We gotta do it again.
No
Gotta-
discussion? Debbie? All in favor?
Oh,
No, we gotta move.
Hang on.
No, we gotta.
You want to? What?
Before you, I'm sorry, I'll turn it over to the commission first, but there was conditions that I mentioned, and I'll just reiterate. They were items 3, 4, 5, and 6 that should be considered as conditions of approval.
That's the landscaping plan, number 3, right? Right.
No, but you're gonna have to redo it, correct?
I just made a motion to take it off the table.
Now Deon's making a motion to approve.
Okay, all right.
Right, so now you have an amendment to the regulations that you've adopted. You've put this piece of property into that zone, and now you're gonna take the site plan and whatever conditions you need on there, whether it's landscaping or the bikes or whatever, then you're gonna add that to a motion to approve if that's the way the commission's looking.
I'd like the motion to approve this text amendment with the following conditions. Number 1 would be the landscaping plan should be approved by the tree warden prior to the issuance of any building permit. The zoning commission should require the applicant to install bicycle storage to accommodate for 30% of the total building occupants. And number 3, the commission may choose to inquire if the applicant has considered charging stations for electric vehicles. And number 4, if approved, the commission should require the applicant shall obtain a letter from a licensed engineer ensuring the project's compliance with the town of Stratford's MS4 stormwater permit. This letter shall be delivered or emailed to the Office of Planning and Zoning and kept in the applicant's file. Oh, and then this is also consistent with the POCD requirements and the housing partnership of the town of Stratford.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0. All right, come build us a great place.
I'll move the approval of minutes from April 13th, 2022.
With,
A what?
Minutes police. Just one thing that I found, it was not a public hearing.
so Lenny, say with Debbie's friendly amendment.
It's not an amendment, it's a correction.
Correction, sorry.
But just for the record, I'll accept her friendly amendment. What if I don't?
You'll just be,
Commissioner Friends, a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next on our agenda is, excuse me, the CAM.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we've got no items for number 3, administrative site plan reviews.
Okay,
The next item we have is the coastal site plan reviews, and I can quickly detail 225 Lordship Boulevard.
could you,
So the applicant, as you all know, has submitted a coastal site plan review. This site consists of coastal hazard areas that are designated by FEMA, as well as shorelands. Typically, we would be conditioning this approval on Deep's comments, which we have not received. So my recommendation is that since we have approved, you all have approved the text amendment, the zone change, and the site plan review, that you approve the coastal site plan review. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
did we did not hear from any of our own town committees on this, correct?
Just give me one moment to double check. Oh, one more.
We'll talk about Mike's all.
I do not have any items from the Waterfront Harbor Management Commission either,
Okay, but you do now have something from Selby.
which we're not going to be discussing
We're not
tonight.
discussing tonight, okay. So then we can go on,
With my recommendation that the coastal site plan review be approved.
we can't do that. Can we do it without Lenny?
Yeah, he said yes.
Oh, where'd he go?
Okay. Someone, give me a motion to approve the CAM for 225 Lordship.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the CAM site plan review for 225 Lordship Boulevard based on the fact that all the other applications before us for this project have been approved.
Second, anybody?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Okay, sediment, erosion, accessory apartments,
We have no new items this month.
sediment and erosion control applications.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So my staff comments on page 6. I have included our standard conditions of approval, as the 4 other applications related to this have also been approved. I recommend that the commission approve the erosion and sediment control with those 3 standard conditions of approval.
I motion to approve the sediment and erosion control application of 225 Lordship Boulevard, 225 Lordship Boulevard LLC, seeing that the prior applications have been approved and are consistent with the planning and zoning's assessments.
Yes, Deborah?
There's the 3 conditions of approval on this, on page 6.
Hand that to Dion, let him read that in as a amendment.
With the amendments as number 1, all necessary saltation and erosion control shall be in place, and zoning enforcement officer notified for an inspection prior to any site construction work being performed. Number 2, immediate on-site modifications shall be employed when an erosion problem develops. And number 3, in evaluating this application, the commission has relied on information provided by the applicant, and if such information is subsequently proves to be inaccurate or incomplete, the approval may be modified, suspended, or rescinded. And as this project is consistent with the POCD, I believe we are rendering a favorable decision in this amendment.
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Whatever happened to discussion? Okay, the next thing we have on here, you have no complaints? We'll open the record here for you. But the last thing that we have tonight is, and I don't know if you guys are too burned out to do it, but it really, right now, represents a lot of work in its current form, which is the housing diversity discussion. We survived our recent encounters with the general public when it came to our 5.3 encounter, but we will not survive forever. So we really have got to start working on coming up with a new text that deals with multifamily housing of all sizes. And having sat for months on the Stratford Housing Partnership, we discussed at incredible length options that Stratford should consider, things that were right for Stratford. So what you're seeing in front of you is the very first draft of what could become a new zoning regulation. It's not the only zoning regulation that would need to be rewritten in order to make this fully functional, but it's the primary zoning application that we would begin to work at. It is not 230G. So this is not, we're not talking affordable housing. We're talking about housing in the middle. That's what everybody has identified that Stratford needs the most. Holding aside right now the 230G, 830G discussion, we still need a mechanism where we can encourage smaller footprint housing for people. And one of the things that I discovered is that the current zoning we have is, one, it's illegal. And the idea of choosing zoning by district is illegal. So we don't have anything to stand on with what we currently have. Anybody wanted to take us to the court, we would lose. So it's really critical that we get this written and get it written fairly fast. But we need to have it ready for the POCD rewrite anyhow. And we cannot talk about 830G implementation until we get this, because this document is what's going to be our answer to, at least our first answer to anybody who comes in wanting to build 830. It's going to be the basis that we're going to say, no, you don't need to build 40. Here's our suggestion to you. So it's really critical that we spend time working on that. I'm going to turn to Patricia, because I know you've had some work on that, and I'm going to turn to Jay and ask them both to make a comment on this to help guide us in our thinking. We're not going to get this rewritten tonight, but I really want everybody to sit down and start thinking about it. What are we covering? What are we missing? That's okay, Jay?
Sure, yeah, and you know, most of my thoughts are in this kind of 1.5 page memo that really has, this is a condensed thought process that I've had over the past kind of 6 years, but also a lot of what I heard from public commentary during the Gold Coast text amendment from residents, from all the meetings for a year that I sat through with the Housing Partnership, and what those stakeholders all said they felt was going to be most beneficial to the town residents and prospective town residents. So, you know, essentially it's to fix our multifamily, our residence apartments regulation, which we always allowed in every zone. RS1, RS2, RS3, RS4, you were always allowed to build apartments. It's just that we ran out. We set a cap, which has now been deemed illegal by the state of Connecticut. And so now we can no longer just sit and say, well, you can't build anymore because we don't have any more left. That is no longer going to work. So the idea is that we will somehow go back to what we used to allow, a certain density in I should say, an acceptable density in RS1, 2, 3, 4, our RM1 zones, which are the two-family zones currently, as well as the commercial zones, our major corridors, Main Street, maybe Barnum Avenue, and nothing's written in stone yet. So in addition to that, as Chairman Watson has mentioned, we really don't offer any options because this regulation is defunct, it's broken. We either say you can build a single-family house or a 100-unit affordable housing development. There's no, and what I heard at that Gold Coast meeting with a lot of the complaints from the residents is, look, we're reasonable people. I can deal with a 6-unit, an 8-unit, a 12-unit. It's once I start seeing the 20, the 25s, the 30s where, I start to feel very uncomfortable. And I understand that. So we want to try to create more options that were always available in the town by special case, essentially. So just like we had well, not just like the one we had here, but you'd get a 10-unit or a 12-unit development that comes in that wants to go on. And the only one I can think of off the top of my head is the one that was on Hamilton Avenue. And I know that there was a lot of, it was a contentious application, it was only 10 units, but that's what we will be going back to, is you will be evaluating them with the latitude that a special case approval allows you to do. Very different than the affordable housing option that we had tonight, where you all really couldn't push back on pushing that building up to the street. Because if that goes to court, that has nothing to do with health and safety and the public interest. By adopting something that is that allows for certain density in certain neighborhoods, you then gain the control back, and the burden is now shifted back to the applicant when reviewing an apartment building. So I think that this restores more control and latitude to your decisions. And I think that's a good thing, and I think you all would agree. Maybe not, I don't know. I guess the last thing I wanted to include in a draft regulation would be an inclusionary zoning component. Now, this is kind of like a planner buzzword that's been going around for the past few years, but it's essentially saying anytime someone is considering to build, I'll just use the 10 or 15 unit apartment, you all can require that 10%, 1 unit or 2 units, be required to be deed restricted affordable, so that, yes, you're always making headway to providing the 10% affordable housing stock that the state requires. We are currently, so we need about 250 units to reach only a 4-year moratorium, which means we wouldn't hear those applications for 4 years. But once those 4 years are up, it starts again. It only goes away permanently when 10% of the housing stock is deed restricted as affordable. That's about 800 units. We used to be over 10%. The deeds for Stony Brook and Success Village expired. They are now 42 years, so they're no longer deed restricted. So we went from 14% all the way down to 6%. So these are a revision to section 5.3 with an inclusionary housing component, which says you all are going to say, we'll consider your residence apartments building, but you got to put a couple of affordable units so we're not losing ground. So anyways, I won't go on any further. Those are essentially what my thought process is on creating a regulation, a draft, for you all to consider. And I kind of state in my last paragraph here on page 2 what I kind of think that I laid the path out. Give me the direction to say, hey, Jay, we'd like you to prepare a draft. You all will talk about it. You'll then send it to the Planning Commission for informal discussion. They will then send comments back to us to say, hey, Zoning Commission, we love these things. We think you should add these things as well to your text amendment. Once everyone has a level of comfort, you say, Jay, prepare a text amendment for formal review and adoption, or Jay, go back to the drawing board. That's it. And I don't want to dominate the discussion. I think it's really important for you all to, you know, if there's things that maybe you disagree, and this is the time to say, look, we don't think that we should be doing this, or yes, we do.
Well, no, I think we definitely need to start thinking about this from the perspective of just the amount of people coming and utilizing the 830G. And we have to have some kind of fallback to saying, like, listen, we want to still make the decisions on what you're going to build and what you can build. And I mean, to be honest, I live on Hamilton, so I was kind of against that.
I remember.
I was a big proponent of that. I mean, but also,
But there was a lot more control that the zoning commission had, that they were able to push back on the applicant to say, no, and we're not going to give in to what you want on this item.
right, because I think he dropped it down to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, he dropped it down to 10. But I would like to, the commission and the town, you know, residents, to have more ability to have a say-so. And not the developer just coming in and saying, all right, well, you know what, I'm not building one residence because I'm not gonna make any money, so I'm just gonna build 100 and go under the 830G. And I thank you, Jay, for presenting this to us. Because I definitely want to go over it in, you know, in more detail. So if I can give some more feedback to or against some of the stuff, but just to have a better understanding of what we need to apply to our Section 5 of our regulations. And I really appreciate you, Jay, for taking your time to do this.
I can get you one, Gail. And I also want to be clear, and I left this out of kind of my initial, it's in my memo, but this does not prevent 8-30G projects. It doesn't. It gives an alternative that we feel fits in better maybe with our neighborhoods, a 10 unit as opposed to a 50 unit. And I think that's part of the goal. We don't avoid the 8-30G until we reach 10%.
But at least there's another option.
It's another option. Yep. For the developer who maybe doesn't want to spend $30,000 on an attorney for an affordable housing project to go to represent 5 applications, that's what that lordship was, 5 applications over 4.5 months just here, probably a good 5 months meeting with me before they even came in to see you. It allows the smaller scale development who can't afford to carry those upfront costs and say, I'm happy with the single of building a 6-family. Maybe not. Maybe they all go for 8-30G, but at least we're making a good faith effort at doing what we think that we're hearing the residents call for.
Well, the alternative is we have nothing. We absolutely are saying come in and build 830 because we don't have anything else. We have to offer something that, you know, maybe it will have repercussions we don't understand. Maybe it actually will start the idea of land banking, of not-for-profits saying we're going to buy this. You know, there's many different ways that housing gets built in this country, that it all doesn't have to be developers coming in. You know, there are other ways to get things built, and there are small builders that don't want to build 50 units. That's above and beyond their skill set. They might want to build 6. So I just think that it's a great step. What I would like us to do, I would love us to see that we can get this in a draft form, because no matter what we do, we're also going to have to be able to know this well enough that we can do a public hearing. So we can begin speaking to the public and express the difference between these concepts, or these realities is a better word for it. So that if you'll notice, the last paragraph here basically is giving a phase 1 to Jay, saying please go off and begin to prepare this 5-point document. I don't know if he's ready to say, without more discussion with all of us, that he might not be ready to say that he's willing to do that yet, because he doesn't want it all to fall on his shoulders. But we need to, well, he does do other things. Listen, I will gladly push him, but I'm just saying that this is what we were elected to do as much as possible, so we really need to think seriously on that. I would take a motion if someone says move forward full speed, Jay, and let's keep talking about it. Maybe we need to actually say, let's take one of those work sessions that we don't always have to meet next month and say, let's meet for 1 hour and discuss this. We ran the Stratford Housing Partnership with one. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping to get your buy-in on this. But we ran the Stratford Housing Partnership once a week, or once every 2 weeks. Once every 2 weeks for 1 hour, and we did it on Zoom. So we could do the same thing.
Listen, I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, and I think no option is not an option.
It'd be nice to have a meeting, just a meeting about that.
Right, just a meeting about that,
Well, that's what I'm saying is, can we put that on this coming May's calendar?
Yeah, so what do you want me, so we just need to make a motion to move forward on identifying us.
It's really a motion to say, Jay, move forward, and let's
Motion to move
schedule our
forward.
next work session to have a 1 hour meeting on this subject.
So I think we should definitely. Well, I'd like to make a motion definitely to move forward on for Jay to continue to look into the residence apartments and inclusionary missing middle housing, and a text amendment to the Section 5 for middle housing and less.
Oh, Dion,
Dense.
can I stop you 1 second? Because he specifically direct staff to prepare a new Section 5 for discussion.
All right, I'd like to motion that Jay and planning and zoning staff, I just forgot that last part that quick. Prepare and move forward on a new Section 5 of our
that okay?
Stratford housing regulations.
Okay. And I don't know when our May.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Expect an email saying that we're having a special meeting the second week in May.
Well, so now that you all have given me the direction, now I can tell you the timeline.
Oh, okay.
We'll see you next year. No, as I said, this is something that we have been thinking about for the past 6 years. I have ideas and drafts, so I'm not starting from zero. I can't guarantee you're going to have something for May. I'm thinking maybe we're talking the first administrative meeting in June, right? It's like June 12th or 14th. Or if it's not ready by then, there's a lot of work that goes into figuring out the right density for each of these neighborhoods. Maybe the administrative meeting in July, which is like July 12th or 14th. So I promise I'll have something by one of those 2 days.
But you can give us an interim draft for us. We're not ready to.
Also, I mean, I don't want to, I'd rather him be more detailed. I mean, at least we got this in motion. And I'd rather him be more detailed and be specific of what, we want to put in place.
June, July.
Yeah,
June, July.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, don't take vacation. I believe that's the end of our business.
Mr. Chairman, seeing no more business, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
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 Thanks, Jim.